and girls, here we go. If you give a mouse a cookie. It's written by Laura Joff Numeroff. She's the author. We all know what an author does. It's illustrated by Felicia Bond. We know what an illustrator does as well, don't we? Don't we? Okay, so the good thing about reading this book is that after you get a cookie. Yay! So, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask for a glass of milk. Wouldn't blame him, I would too. When you give him the milk, he'll probably ask you for a straw. Again, makes sense. When he's finished, he'll ask for a napkin, which, yep. Then he'll want to look in a mirror to make sure he doesn't have a milk mustache. When he looks in the mirror, he might notice his hair needs a trim. So he'll probably ask for a pair of nail scissors. When he's finished giving himself a trim, he'll want a broom to sweep up. Good mouse. He'll start sweeping. He might get carried away and sweep every room in the house. Oh, I pray for that. Honestly, come to my house, little mouse. He may even end up washing the floors as well. I'm loving this mouse. When he's done, he'll probably want to take a nap. You'll have to fix up a little box for him with a blanket and a pillow. He'll crawl in, make himself comfortable, and fluff the pillow a few times. He'll probably ask you to read him a story. So you'll read him from one of your books, and he'll ask to see the pictures. When he looks at the pictures, he'll get excited. He'll want to draw one of his own. He'll ask for paper and crayons. He'll draw a picture. When the picture is finished, he'll want to sign his name with a pen. Then he'll want to hang his picture on your refrigerator, which means he'll need Scotch tape. He'll hang up his drawing and stand back to look at it. Looking at the refrigerator will remind him that he's thirsty. So, look in your finger. He'll ask for a glass of milk. And chances are, if he asks for a glass of milk, he's going to want a cookie to go with it.
I so enjoy Miss Nadine's book about if you give a mouse a cookie. It just really reminded me, and I got to thinking about how the very first thing that I learned to bake in my home as a child with my mom in the kitchen was chocolate chip cookies. And since the mouse is looking for a cookie, how about we come together and make a batch for him, so if he visits our house, we will have a cookie to share. So some of the tools that we're going to be using tonight is you'll need a mixer, or you can put it in a bowl and stir it by hand, but it's a really thick dough. We have dry ingredients and wet ingredients. So the very first thing we're going to do is you want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees, and we will be letting that warm up while we make the cookie dough. Very first thing we want to do is we want to mix our dry ingredients. In this bowl I have 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to be adding 1 teaspoon of baking soda. You measure it out, dump it in, and then we're going to be also adding 1 teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to take a spatula and stir that around just a little bit and set it aside while we mix our wet ingredients. Very first thing we want to do in our mixing bowl, 2 sticks, 1 cup of butter. There goes 1 stick, 2 sticks, and then we will add 3/4 of a cup of white granulated sugar. And we're also going to add 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. When you measure brown sugar, you pack it, and what all that means is you scoop it up, and then you want to pack it down in the cup, level it off, and then pour it in. 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. We are at this time going to lower the beaters and turn it on and let it mix up our butter and our sugar. We have butter, brown sugar, and white sugar. Now what we're going to do is, the recipe calls for 2 eggs. It's always important to crack your eggs in a separate bowl from putting it in your mixing bowl. I just tap it a little bit on the counter, pour it in the bowl. 1 egg, 2 eggs. And you don't need to beat them at the time. You're going to put them in with your butter and your sugar. And to that, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Mix that in. Turn your mixer back on. Now we get to add, lift that up, and we're going to add a little bit of our drier ingredients. If you remember, we have flour, salt, and baking soda in here. So we're going to put about half of it, pour it in, turn your mixer on, let it start mixing together with the wet ingredients. Add rest of the flour. Make sure you get everything in there till your bowl is empty. And then turn that back on. And at this point, we want to beat it until everything is nicely blended together. Go ahead and take one of your spatulas and scrape all of the white back down until the beater can reach it. And then turn it back on. Now the fun part is Nestle Toll House chips. There's 2 cups, approximately 2 cups in a bag, and we're going to pour the whole bag in. Melt it in. Very gently let it stir around. You don't want to beat it too hard or you'll break up all the chocolate chips. My beater comes out like this. My hands are clean. I washed my hands very well beforehand, and it's okay to use your fingers to clean it off. Or, as I like to used to do as a young child, my mother would hand me the beater and I would lick the yummy dough off of the beater. So I'm going to reach over here. I'm going to get my cookie sheet. Now I have a cover on here. It's just a sheet that keeps my cookies from sticking. And this is a little scoop that I use to kind of get all my cookies uniformed. I just do that. And very easy. Now you can also use just your regular tablespoon that you use with your silverware, or you can use one of these fun things. Kind of like it because you squeeze it and it gets all cookie dough out. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this tray up. This size tray, you can make 12 cookies. This batch of cookie dough will make approximately 36 cookies. I've so enjoyed making cookies with you tonight. Remember the book that Miss Nadine read to us? If you give a mouse a cookie, you will want to take his adventure and find out how he comes to the point of wanting to eat another yummy cookie. Good night from Anita's Kitchen.